Alright, today I'm going to show you how to build a laundromat from zero. Not the version people daydream about, the real one. Every number, every permit, and every mistake that closes these places in year one. In the order you actually have to do it. This is where it starts, an empty room. Here is the part nobody says out loud. A laundromat does not sell clean clothes. It sells one thing only. One drum, one wash cycle, one payment. That is the product. Everything else in this business is a consequence of that single unit. So the only question that matters is how many times each machine turns in a day. 4 to 6 is healthy. Below 3 is dying. 30 machines, 5 turns, $450 a wash. That is around $20,000 a month from washers alone before a single dryer runs. Water, sewer, and gas eat 15 to 25% of that. Utilities here behave exactly like a second rent every month, forever. Stay with me, and you will know how to read a water bill better than the person trying to sell you their store. Most of these stores do not die from competition. They die from 3 things, and all 3 are visible from the parking lot. Number 1, dead machines. Every washer out of order is a turn you can never sell again, and the customer walks to the next store. A store with 6 dead machines out of 30 is not a 30-machine store. It is a 24-machine store paying full rent. Number 2, filth. Nobody markets a laundromat. People choose the clean one within a mile and never think about it again. Lint on the floor, a full bin, a sticky counter. That is your entire brand, and it costs almost nothing to fix. Number 3, old washers. A worn top loader pulls 30 to 45 gallons per cycle. A modern front loader pulls 10 to 20. Same revenue, double the water bill. That gap alone closes stores that look busy from the street on a Saturday afternoon. Then there is the quiet killer, a lease with 8 years left and no assignment clause. Your machines are bolted to somebody else's building. You cannot move them. When the lease ends, the landlord owns your location, and everything you built is worth scrap value on a truck. And the fantasy. People buy these because they think nobody works here. 10 to 20 hours a week is the real number, with staff. So here's the honest frame. This is a strong business with high margin and low labor. It is not a machine that runs itself. There are 4 ways into this business, and they are not equally smart. Most people pick the wrong one because it sounds more impressive. Way 1. Buy a working store, 180 to 600,000, priced at 3 to 5 times annual net. You're buying proven turns, an existing lease, and a customer habit that took years to form. This is what most single owners actually do. This whole episode is built around that path because for a single owner, it is by far the one you're most likely to take. Way 2. Buy a tired store cheap and re-equip it. 80 to 250,000 for the business. Then another 150 to 300,000 for machines, cheaper entry, more expensive year 1, and you inherit whatever the plumbing is hiding. Way 3. Build from raw space. 300 to 700,000 and 6 to 12 months of permits and contractors. The utilities decide this one. If the unit was never a laundromat, the water, gas, and drainage upgrade alone can kill the deal. Way 4. A small store plus pickup and delivery, wash and fold, cheapest entry, but that is a logistics business wearing a laundromat costume. Routes, drivers, apps, damaged garments, different rules, different risks. Worth knowing, but it is not what we are building today. Here's the uncomfortable truth of this trade. Buying somebody else's store is almost always smarter than building your own from raw space. But you still need the full build cost in your head. Without it, you cannot value a store or price a re-equip. Now, the core of the whole thing. 1 machine, 1 cycle, 1 payment. Multiply that by machines and by turns, and you have revenue. A turn is 1 complete wash cycle sold on 1 machine. Turns per day is the only operating number that matters here. Below 3 turns, the store is dying. 4 to 6, it is healthy. Above 6, you do not have enough machines. Compare that to the rest of this series. A chair hour in a barbershop, a bay hour at the wash, an oven load, same idea. Price depends on machine size. A 20-pound washer runs $250 to $350. A 60-pounder runs $5 to $6. Dryers are sold in time, not cycles, around a quarter for 6 to 8 minutes, which is why they feel invisible in the numbers. But dryer revenue is 25 to 35% of washer revenue. Ignore it and you undercount the store by a quarter. Average visit is $12 to $20. That is a wash, a dry, and usually a vending purchase on the way out. 30 washers, 5 turns a day, $450 average price. That is roughly $20,000 a month coming from the washers alone. Add dryers at 30% and you're near $26,000. Call it $300,000 a year gross. Now the costs. Rent takes 15 to 25%. Utilities take another 15 to 25. Those 2 are your whole fight. Labor is 0 to 20%, depending entirely on whether somebody stands in that room. Repairs and parts, 3 to 6%. Card processing, 2 to 3%. Insurance, supplies, alarm, trash. What is left is 20 to 35% net. That is the highest margin in this series. It is not a gift. It is payment for capital bolted into somebody else's building. Break even here is not measured in dollars. It is measured in turns per washer per day, and that changes how you look at everything. Take your fixed monthly load, rent, utilities, labor, insurance, loan payment in a typical store that is $12,000 to $18,000 a month. Divide by 30 days, then divide by 30 washers, then divide by your average wash price. You get turns needed per machine per day. For most stores, that lands around 2.5 to 3.5 turns. That is your line. Everything below that line is survival, everything above it is profit, and the gap between 3 turns and 5 turns is the whole business. Notice what that means. Going from 3 turns to 4 is not a 30% improvement. It is the difference between nothing and a salary. And you get there without raising price. Working machines, clean floor, better mix of sizes, and a store that feels safe after dark. This is why dead machines hurt so much. 6 machines down is not lost repair money. It is a permanent hole in your daily capacity. Saturday is the constraint. If every washer is full at noon on Saturday and people are waiting, you are leaving turns on the floor. If half the room is empty at noon on Saturday, no amount of marketing fixes it. That is a location and demographics problem. So before any spreadsheet, go stand in the store at noon on Saturday and count. That single hour tells you more than the seller will. Here's the full build cost from raw space. You need this even if you buy, because it is how you value somebody else's equipment. Machines, $150,000 to $300,000, covering 20 to 40 washers and 20 to 30 dryer pockets, delivered and installed. Plumbing, drainage, and cutting trenches into the slab, $40,000 to $100,000, and this is where the expensive surprises live. Gas line and commercial water heater, $25,000 to $60,000. Undersized hot water is the most common build mistake in this trade. Electrical service and panel, $20,000 to $60,000. You're asking for 200 to 400 amps, and old units rarely have it. Ventilation and dryer exhaust, $15,000 to $40,000. Long duct runs and lint buildup are a fire risk and an inspection item. Floor, ceiling, lighting, seating, and folding counters, $30,000 to $80,000. This is the part customers actually see and judge you on. Payment system, $20,000 to $40,000 for card readers. Kiosk and the back end. Coin-only stores are shrinking every year. Signage, $10,000 to $30,000. Design and permits, $10,000 to $25,000. Deposits and working capital, $30,000 to $80,000. Added up, and a ground-up build is $300,000 to $700,000, plus 6 to 12 months where you earn nothing. Now compare. A working store doing $60,000 net sells for $180,000 to $300,000, and it earns from day one. That is the whole argument for buying. You're paying for turns that already exist instead of gambling on turns you hope will appear. The one case where building wins is a growing area with no store within 2 miles and a landlord who will pay for utilities. Now, how people actually pay for this. There are 4 sources, and most real deals end up using 2 or 3 together. Cash, clean, slow, and the only version where the whole net is yours. If you have $300,000 sitting idle, this works. Bank or small business lending. This trade finances well because the equipment is collateral and the cash flow is boring and predictable. Expect 10 to 25% down on an acquisition, 10 years, and a personal guarantee. Read that guarantee twice before you sign it. Seller financing, very common here. The seller carries 20 to 40% of the price over 3 to 5 years. That is the strongest signal you can get. A seller who will not carry any paper does not believe their own numbers. Equipment leasing for the machines themselves. Higher total cost, lower cash out today. Useful for a re-equip, poor for a whole build. Whatever the mix, keep 6 months of rent and utilities untouched in reserve. Not written in the plan, sitting in the account. Because your first big repair bill and your first slow month will arrive in the same week. They always do. Location in this trade is not about traffic. It is about who lives within 1 mile and whether they own a washer. Your trade area is 1 to 2 miles. Nobody drives 15 minutes with wet laundry. Nobody. That radius is the whole market. The first number to pull is renter share. You want above 40% renters within a mile. Above 60% is excellent. Then household density. And median income roughly $25,000 to $50,000. Too poor and volume is unstable. Too rich and everyone owns a machine. Walk the apartment blocks. Look for buildings with no hookups in the units and no shared laundry room in the basement. Count competitors in machines, not in signs. 2 tired stores with 20 old washers each are weaker than 1 store with 40 new ones. Now, the part that kills deals, the utilities. This is a factory pretending to be a shop, and it needs factory service. Water supply from 2-inch line minimum. Anything smaller and machines wait on each other, which quietly caps your turns forever. Gas at 1 to 2 million BTU for the water heater and dryers. Getting a bigger line into the unit is slow and expensive. Electrical 200 to 400 amps. Sewer from 4-inch plus floor drains and grades so the room can be washed down. If the space was never a laundromat, bringing all of that service in costs $50,000 to $150,000. That single line is why half of these projects never open. The lease looks cheap and the connection quote arrives 3 months later. So the rule is simple. Prefer a unit that was already a laundromat or a landlord who will fund the upgrade in writing. Never sign anything based on a verbal promise that the service is adequate. Get a plumber and an electrician into the unit first. The lease matters more here than in any other business in this series because you cannot take your equipment with you. 10 years minimum plus 2 5-year options. Anything shorter, and you're installing $300,000 of hardware into a countdown. Assignment rights are not optional. You will sell this store one day, and the lease is half of what the buyer is actually buying. Get the utility upgrade agreed in writing before closing. Who pays, what the deadline is, and what happens if the service comes up short. Fix your rent escalation. 3% a year is normal. Percentage rent on a laundromat is unusual, and you should push back hard. Now permits, business license, payment device registration, and in some cities, a discharge permit for what goes into the sewer. A backflow preventer on the water line, tested annually. It is a small item that fails inspections and shuts doors for a week. Dryer venting and lint cleaning schedules. Accessibility requirements at the entrance and in the aisle width. These are checked, not theoretical. Insurance is 4 separate things: general liability, equipment breakdown, business interruption, and the one that matters most, water damage to neighbors. A burst hose at 2 in the morning floods the unit next door. That is the biggest single loss in this trade. Get the coverage. Now the machines, because that is where most of your money goes and where most of your mistakes get locked in for a decade. Washers come in 20, 30, 40, 60, and 80-pound capacities. Dryers are sold as pockets, usually stacked too high. Bigger machines earn more per square foot. A 60-pound washer takes maybe twice the floor of a 20 and charges nearly double. So skew the mix toward 40 and 60-pounders. That is where families with comforters and bedding go, and they pay without arguing. Keep some small machines. A single person with one load will not pay $6, and you want that visit anyway. A washer lasts 10 to 15 years. A dryer lasts 15 to 25, because a dryer is a drum, a burner, and a fan. So here's the rule of this episode. Buy dryers used. Buy washers new or under 5 years old. Never the reverse. It rhymes with the gym episode, free weights used, cardio new. The machine with water, pumps, and electronics is the one that betrays you. Drying capacity in pounds should be 1.5 to 2 times your washing capacity. Otherwise, people wash fast and then wait. A queue at the dryers looks harmless. It is not. It caps your washer turns because nobody starts a wash they cannot finish. Check nameplates for age on every machine you inspect. Sellers repaint fronts. They do not replace the plate riveted to the frame. And budget 3 to 6% of revenue for repairs forever. Bearings, valves, drain pumps, door seals. This is a maintenance business. Layout is revenue, not decoration. Every square foot of wasted aisle is a machine you did not install and never earn from. 1,500 to 4,000 square feet. The sweet spot is 2,000 to 2,500 with 20 to 40 washers. Washers in rows down the middle or along one wall. Dryers against the wall with the shortest possible duct run to outside. Folding counters go opposite the dryers, not opposite the washers, because folding happens at the end of the visit and creates a bottleneck. Seating inside of the machines. People will not sit where they cannot wash their laundry. Empty chairs in the wrong corner earn nothing. Wide aisles for carts. 2 carts must pass. If they cannot, people leave carts in the aisle and the room jams by noon. Put the payment kiosk where it is visible from the door and the soap vending next to it, not hidden at the back. Glass frontage everywhere. No blind corners. Bright light in every part of the room, including the corner behind the dryers. That is not decoration either. It decides whether a woman with a child walks in at 8 in the evening or drives past. Safety in this business is straight revenue. The store that feels safe after dark captures the entire evening, and evenings are half the week. Pricing, $2.50 to $6 a wash, scaled by machine size, a quarter for 6 to 8 minutes of drying. Do not compete on price. There is no loyalty at 10 cents. There is enormous loyalty in a machine that works every time. Raise prices in small steps on the big machines first. The 60-pound customer is doing 3 loads at once and is the least sensitive. Now, the real growth lever, wash and fold priced by the pound. $1.25 to $2.50 a pound. That is 15 to 30% of revenue in stores that push it. And it uses machines that are sitting idle on a Tuesday. It needs a person. And that person is what separates a 200,000 store from a 400,000 store. Commercial accounts are the next layer. Restaurants, salons, short-term rentals, small clinics. Steady weekday volume at a negotiated rate. Those accounts fill your dead hours. And dead hours are pure margin because the rent and the lights are already paid for. Vending, soap, softener, snacks, drinks. 2 to 5% of revenue at very high margin and almost no labor attached to it. An ATM if the location supports it. Small money, but it keeps people inside the store instead of walking out to find cash. Never advertise a laundromat with discounts. Advertise it with working machines, a clean floor, and hours that suit people who work shifts. Labor is the strangest part of this business because you can run it with nobody, and that is exactly the trap. An unattended store costs nothing in wages and gives you a smaller, dirtier, more vandalized business with no wash and fold. An attended store costs $15,000 to $25,000 a year for part-time coverage and unlocks the highest margin revenue you have. One attendant during peak hours, Saturday and Sunday daytime, weekday evenings. That is when the room is full and when problems happen. The job is simple and specific. Wipe machines, clear lint, empty bins, tag broken units, run wash and fold, greet everybody. Pay above the obvious rate and keep the same person for years. Regulars come back for a face they recognize in an empty room. And you 10 to 20 hours a week with staff. Collections, repairs, supplier orders, inspections, and the machine that broke on Sunday. That is semi-passive. It is a very good deal for the hours. It is not the no-work fantasy that sold you the idea. This is the most valuable act in the episode. How to check whether a store actually earns what the seller says it earns. Never trust stated revenue, not the spreadsheet, not the notebook, not the confident number over coffee. Verify it from the outside. Here's the trick. Ask for 24 to 36 months of water bills, not summaries, the actual bills from the utility. Take total gallons for the month. Divide by the gallons one cycle uses on the machines that are actually installed there. That gives you the number of wash cycles the store really ran. Multiply by average price. Compare it to what you were told. If the gap is more than 10%, the conversation is over. You just measured the business without the seller's permission. Then pull gas and electric bills for the same period. Gas tracks dryer use, and dryer use tracks wash volume. They should agree. Take reports from the payment system directly, not exported into a spreadsheet by the seller. Card data is the closest thing to truth. Walk every machine and write down nameplate ages. Then price the replacement of everything older than 12 years. Subtract it from the offer. Sit in the parking lot on a Saturday and a Tuesday and count customers by hour. 2 days of your life, thousands of dollars. And get the landlord's written consent to assignment before any money moves. No consent, no deal, no matter how good the numbers look. You close the deal. Here's what the first 90 days look like in order, and none of it is marketing. Week 1, fix every broken machine, all of them. That is the fastest revenue increase available to you, and it costs a few $1,000s. Week 1 also, deep clean floor, walls, glass, lint traps behind the dryers. Customers notice within one visit and they tell people. Week 2, light. Replace everything dim, add fixtures in the corners. Bright rooms feel safe, and safe rooms fill up in the evening. Week 3, fix the hours. Find out when people actually come and open before them. Shift workers are a large and loyal share. Month 1, put a person in the room during peaks and watch what changes. Usually more visits, longer stays, more vending, fewer problems. Month 2, launch wash and fold quietly. Small sign, a scale, a clear price per pound, and a promise about when it is ready. Month 2 also, walk to 20 local businesses and offer commercial pricing. Restaurants and short-term rentals answer the fastest.
Month 3. Now look at pricing. Small increase on the large machines. By then, the store has earned the right to charge more.
Retention here is not a loyalty program. It is the machine being free, working and clean when the person walks in. Track 5 numbers every week, turns per washer per day, revenue per square foot, utilities as a % of revenue, pounds of wash and fold that week, and number of machines out of service. 5 numbers, 1 page, every Monday. If utilities cross 25% of revenue, something is leaking, literally or mechanically. Go find it before you look at anything else. If turns drop below 3, you have a machine problem or a competitor problem. Walk the store on a Saturday before you touch price. Scaling means a second store, not a bigger one. 2 stores in 2 trade areas. Beat 1 store with more machines than customers. The second store is easier. You know the equipment, the suppliers, the repair people, and you can read a water bill in 10 minutes. Your exit is priced the same way you bought. 3 to 5 times net, so every dollar of net is worth 4 in value. Cut 10,000 a year off the water bill, and you did not save 10,000. You added 40,000 to the sale price. So there it is. Buy the turns, not the building. Read the water bill, not the seller. Fix the machines before you fix anything else. High margin, low labor, heavy capital, and a lease that owns you. Go and count cars on a Saturday. That is your first step. Next episode, we leave the building entirely. Food truck, lower entry, higher chaos, and a permit map that changes every few blocks. This is educational content, not financial or legal advice. Numbers here reflect a typical mid-sized market. Verify everything locally before you commit.